For more than 4 decades, the Soup Kitchen has been a lifeline for local families in need, serving hot meals every single day. But this summer, the Soup Kitchen is facing one of the biggest challenges yet. We're going on the record with the CEO about why support for what they do is more critical now than ever. We break down the surprising reality about who they're actually feeding. Let's go on the record.
From WPBF 25, this is On the Record with Todd McDermott.
Good morning. The Soup Kitchen in West Point Beach is a community kitchen that's been serving hot meals daily to people in need for more than 4 decades. But as summer arrives, they're seeing fewer donations, fewer volunteers, just when demand is soaring. So today, joining me is the CEO of the Soup Kitchen, Marlene Mejia. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
These numbers are staggering when you see it. Just beginning with 600,000 meals served in a year. How do you pull this off?
Well, it takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of great volunteers. It takes a lot of funding. And we have seen the numbers even grow bigger and larger this past month, just a month alone.
Well, let's talk about how you do this, because it is really a community-wide effort. You have volunteers, but how do you pull off the sheer magnitude of feeding so many?
It's interesting. We have the best volunteer pool that we could pull from. It's 300 plus. However, in the summer, hunger does not take a vacation, but most of the volunteers do, and that's where we have the hardest time. So we have to go out, do social media, ask for more volunteers. We ask the volunteers that we already have, bring us your friends, bring us your family. 5 hours a shift, that's all you need once a week.
So volunteers, less during the summer, but as you said, you have more demand. Give us an idea of what's happening out there. Why are more people lining up for food?
So the thing is, we used to feed just a migrant farmer, right? We have seen the shift in the past years. Now it's anybody that's in a regular line. If you go to a Publix, if you go to a Walmart, and the line is going to be exactly the same. That's what we see out of our doors. These are working families. Some of them have 1, 2, 3 jobs part-time, and they still cannot, make ends meet.
So what do you need that you're not getting? What we need to do for you?
The 2 basic things, Todd, it's most important is funding, because like I said, the hunger takes no vacation. But sometimes the funding people, people that are funding us or people that are giving us their donations, they go away for the summer. So this is a very hard and trying time for us.
And I know cash donations for a service like yours,
right,
a nonprofit, it can be tied to the holidays.
Sure.
I know that's the case. But as you said, the hunger doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. How do you reach people to keep those donations coming in? Because that's what you use to buy the food. We
go out to a lot of the homeowners associations, mm-hmm, and we go to clubs, we go to tennis leagues, we go to law firms. We go and tell them what we are about, because of course we are so much more than food, than soup.
Right. But before we go on to the other programs, can you give people an idea of what the food is that you're offering? I mean, you are really sustaining a lot of people and families with this. Yeah,
not only do we feed them a very healthy and full meal, consisting of a protein, a starch, a vegetable, a salad, and a dessert, but we're also giving them a box full of groceries, sometimes averaging about $150 worth. We give up anything that we get through the doors. Anything that comes through the kitchen goes right out to them.
Can we address the misconception that you're only feeding the homeless? It is really a much bigger, as important as that is, it's a much bigger job than that now, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Our percentage of homeless is probably 10% tops. Everybody else, like I said, it's people that are working families. These are people that CNAs. We have people that come through the doors and tell us their stories. We have Rosa, for instance, 74 years old. She was a housekeeper at a hotel for many, many years until the pandemic hit. She was left without a job and now cannot get it because of probably her age. And she just says, I cannot decide, do I buy my medication or do I buy food? So that's where we come in and lift them up.
Well, she deserves both.
Correct.
And obviously at the same time, we've talked about the charitable donations being vital. Right. Are people who hear the story of the Soup Kitchen surprised by who you're feeding? As you said, 10% are the homeless.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very surprised when we tell them, imagine the same line that you would, get to at your regular grocery store. That's the same amount of people or the same kind of people that we're helping out every single day.
And we have about a minute left. You mentioned some of the other programs to help out families. There's Meals on Wheels, and there's something called New Beginnings that I
Yes.
think people would like to hear about.
So we cover everybody from babies even before they're born up until 104-year-old seniors. The babies program, one of the branches now is called New Beginnings, and we're educating moms that have children up to about a year and a half. We're now introducing literacy into them. We are following Meals on Wheels homebound seniors that cannot make it out of their home. We are their lifeline. And of course, we have Lift Up program where we're helping the catering, to the business and hospitality. So we cover every, like I said, so much more than soup.
It is such a remarkable nonprofit, and again,
Thank
not
you.
government funded. Marlene Mejia, thanks for being here. We have much more to talk about when it comes to the Soup Kitchen today.
Thank you.
Thank you for starting us off. Coming up, from a chef to a college student, you'll meet the dedicated volunteers who carry out the Soup Kitchen's mission. And we'll be right back.
You're watching On the Record on WPBF 25.
Welcome back. I'm joined now by two volunteers for the Soup Kitchen. Ken Baker is volunteer sous chef. How's Kim? Front of the house volunteer captain. Thank you both for being here. Ken, I want to start with you. You're the former executive chef at PGA National. I understand that you had a health emergency that changed your life.
Yeah, I was working and I suffered a hemorrhagic stroke, and I was at work.
And now you have focused your attention on the Soup Kitchen.
Correct.
How did you get together with the Soup Kitchen after that?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to live only a couple of miles away from the Soup Kitchen, and a couple of years back, I was not doing well. And my father-in-law suggested that I want to go volunteer. And so I looked up places to volunteer, and the Soup Kitchen came up, one of the first things I looked up, and I went to go volunteer, and that was 8 years ago.
How has it changed your life?
Well, COVID came, and I had to stop. And so I've been back now fully for about a year, but it's difficult, if you don't keep moving, I don't keep my body in motion, it kind of tightens up. So this past year, it's taken me a long time to recoup what I used to have. So I take it day by day.
That's the physical part. What has it meant to you mentally, emotionally to be part of it?
Oh, well, mentally, it's a great thing because there's a lot of problem solving and things change by the minute there. We don't know what's coming through the back door. We don't know who's coming in to help or to volunteer or what the quality of product coming in.
It sounds pretty exciting because it sounds like it's different every day.
Yes, it is.
And Alice, I know that you have some pretty full days in your life because
Yeah.
I understand you work at a lab, you go to college, and you're doing this at the Soup Kitchen. How do you fit it all in?
It's all about really like time management, and I rely heavily on both my agenda and Google Calendar. Oh my God, I live by them both.
Okay.
And I try to allocate time during my day, especially at school. So I use actually my blocks between classes or between my class and the lab. If it's 30 minutes, I just knock out a task. And by the time it's Friday, I'm I have most of my things done that I can then allocate time to the Soup Kitchen on Saturdays, which is when I take my shifts.
How much time is a college student and who also has a job able to put in at the Soup Kitchen?
I usually go once a week,
Okay.
and I actually study in FAU up in Jupiter, so I have to go back down. But I go back down every weekend to see my mom. And so while I'm there, it's just a 20-minute drive from my house to the Soup Kitchen. And so every Saturday, I have enough time after I allocated enough time to the lab and both school to then dedicate to the Soup Kitchen and show up for my shifts.
What's your time like when you're at the Soup Kitchen? What's the experience like while you were volunteering there?
It's wonderful. By the time I walk in, I'm greeted with friendly hugs and warm smiles from both the volunteers and the staff members there. And then also by the time we open the doors at 9, we're greeted by the guests. We greet them as well. And it's such a lovely experience and environment, such a wonderful community that we have and a relationship that we can build with some of our guests who come in regularly or just new faces that we get to see become strangers to actually friends at the end.
And let's talk about the people who can't come in, Ken, the Meals on Wheels folks. What is the impact of the Meals on Wheels effort? What's that like?
Well, it's one of the things where you want to do the best job you can because people can't get there. So we do our best to put out a great lunch and dinner for them, very good quality food that we have. And that's one thing we do need help with. We talked about a minute ago about volunteers. We definitely need drivers for Meals on Wheels. That's definitely an ongoing thing. But it's nice to take care of people knowing that they can't really take care of themselves and they can't get out of the house and, you know.
And a lot's been said about the fact that Meals on Wheels, for a lot of the folks who can't get out, it may be the only person they see.
Correct.
That day is the person doing the deliveries. It's so important.
Yes, yes. It's nice to have a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation with them and see how they're doing and then talk about their cats and dogs, and it's great. It's a nice thing.
And I have to reflect on the fact that there's a professional sous chef who's now doing this work, because it's a tremendous benefit, I think, to probably everybody to have somebody like you working at the soup kitchen.
Yeah, the chef that's there now, Pete, he's great. And when I first started again, I made it my business to help him as much as I possibly could. And he definitely appreciates it. And I think that all of us in the kitchen have a good time and get the job done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there, that's for sure.
Well, you're doing such great work. Alice, I have to ask you again, what inspires you to do this work on top of everything else you have in your young life that a lot of people would say, I have enough on my plate? What inspires you to go to the soup kitchen on Saturdays?
Don't get me wrong, there are days that are long and that I do go back to my dorm and I am tired physically and mentally. But it's something that I honestly look forward to in my week. It's something that kind of brings me such joy and such passion, because every Saturday, as Kenny said, it's different. You know, you don't know what you're gonna expect. And it's so nice to really go back to the soup kitchen family and go back to the guests and really provide them the support that they need. Because while my day may be hard at the end of the day, I can then help them with their day. And I walk away every time from the soup kitchen knowing that, you know, I made someone's day at least a little bit better.
I hear the emotion in your voice talking about the people you not only work with, but the people you help out there. Ken, what else do you tell people about your experience at the soup kitchen? Your friends, your family, what do you want them to know about it?
Well, I tell them it's changed my life for the better, 100%, whether it's meeting new people every day, whether it's relearning how to use my right hand and getting back into the swing of things as far as the kitchen goes. It covers a lot of ground. There's a lot of good things to be said about the soup kitchen and what it does for not just me, but for everyone that comes in there, both the customers or the guests and the volunteers.
All right, Ken Baker, Alice Kim, thank you both for not only the work you do at the soup kitchen, but for sharing some of it with us.
Thank you for having us.
We really appreciate it. We have more to talk about this morning. Next, he never thought he would need the help, but a financial setback changed his life. A local dad talks about the support he found at the soup kitchen. That's when On the Record returns. Welcome back. I'm here with someone who turned to the soup kitchen when he and his family truly needed the help. Art Morrison, thank you for joining us today to tell your story. What brought you to the soup kitchen?
Me and my husband just recently adopted a little boy, and our life changed for the better, but also we had a huge setback financially. We had to hire 2 lawyers to help us with our case, and we were in a very bad financial position.
And how old is your boy?
My boy is 4 right now. 4.
So at that point, you're facing a real financial problem. How do you find the soup kitchen?
I was a stay-at-home dad. I was working, and then once we had my son, I was a patient advocate. I gave up my career to be at home, and we were hit financially with everything, and somebody in the community mentioned the soup kitchen. And I said, you know, I'm going to go and try. I'm going to go there.
And before that, though, what were you doing? I mean, what was the situation like when you took that financial hit? What were you doing to feed not only you two, but to feed your child?
It was very hard because we only had one income coming in because I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home dad. So we were just getting by, and it was like living week to week.
How long did that go on for?
It went on for probably, in the beginning, like 8 months, but it seemed so long because we had money coming in, but the money was going out towards lawyers.
So we talk a lot in broadcasting news about food insecurity, but I'm sure that some people can't truly get their heads around what that's like. What is it like to not know if you're going to have enough to feed your child?
It was scary. It was, we start to overreact. We were overreact. We started to worry about everything. Even just diapers for our son, to wipes, to everything. We were just like, it was a scary, scary moment until we found the soup kitchen.
Now, before that, and even when you finally made the move to go to the soup kitchen, did you hesitate?
I was very scared. Once I arrived on the line, I will never forget that morning. I stood on the line and I was just standing there. I didn't know what to expect because I was never there. And I was looking at everybody around me and I said, I shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't be here. I felt like I was taking away from somebody else. And I was very emotional. And I remember I came up to the front door and the volunteer that greeted me, it was like she knew what I was feeling. And she looked at me and she's like, welcome, don't worry, it's okay. Because she saw that I was like very emotional. And I'll never forget her name. Her name was Carol.
What did that do to be welcomed that way in that situation you were in?
It made me feel, it got me more emotional. I got more emotional. And it was just so welcoming. Everybody was welcoming. Everybody I met, every corner I turned, somebody was smiling and helping me and saying welcome and all that.
And what was the impact like on your family once you went to the soup kitchen?
It was like, it was huge, just, helping with food, to diapers, to supplies.
They take a lot of supplies.
It helped so much, just in the groceries. And also, we didn't know anybody here. We had no family, we had nobody. And going back, I wasn't working, so I was going more often. And I also was going more because I felt like I found a family. It was like a community that was amazing, welcoming. It was like finding, some people go to a church. I said going to the soup kitchen was like my church.
And tell people who might be hesitant how important it is to take that step to ask for help at a place like the soup kitchen.
It's I never thought in a million years that would be me or my husband, or I would be in that position. But I had to step back and I had to learn to just accept it. Because I was always on the other end helping people. I was a patient advocate. I was always helping people. Now here I am, people are helping me, but I had to just open arms to it.
And we talked a little bit earlier about the misconception of who needs this kind of help.
Yep.
It can be anybody.
It can be anybody. Like I said, I never thought in a million years it would happen to us. I never thought we would be set back. And just like anybody, it could happen to anybody. Anybody.
How's the family today?
We're amazing. My son is thriving. I'm working. I'm back to work.
But you're doing some volunteering too, right?
Yep. We love going back to the soup kitchen. And,
Okay.
even going back to the soup kitchen and just seeing everybody and anything I can do, Even if I'm online, I want to help everybody, the people online carry out their boxes. It's a great feeling.
Before I let you go, what's it like looking back at that day you had to go for the first time that you so eloquently described and how difficult it was to where you are now, especially when you go back to the soup kitchen?
It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. I made the right choice, and I will be always, forever indebted to the soup kitchen for what they did for my family and for my son. Always, they saved us.
Well, we are so grateful that you came to share your story with us. It says a lot about you and about the folks at the soup kitchen.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. Thank you for making this part of your morning today. As always, we encourage you to be part of our discussion. It happens each and every Sunday right here at 10 a.m. Until then, you can watch this morning's On the Record program and every previous episode on our website. That's WPBF.com and on our free WPBF 25 News app. Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien is next. We hope you have a great Sunday. See you again next week.